Good evening, Mr. Bond fans, and welcome back to a video looking back at a much older video that once existed on this channel, and with it being the 60th anniversary year of the film in question, it felt entirely appropriate, to me at least, to look back at the original video review on this channel of Goldfinger. And just in case you're new to this particular series, the reason why I make these videos is because these videos that I watch back are some of the original videos that I made for this channel way back in, I think, like 2009, 2010, 2011 time, back when YouTube was new, and I took down these videos a little while ago because, well, I mean, you'll see, I mean, some of them are kind of old and maybe haven't aged all that well. And I took them down because I didn't feel that they best represented what the channel eventually became. However, some people still, you know, kind of want to look back at these. I do get messages every now and then from people who are like, oh, I remember watching those, you know, 10 years ago or whatever, or why don't you put them back up? And me reacting to them in this format is a way of me feeling comfortable with these videos existing on the channel with present-day Calvin here, or past-day Calvin if you're watching this in the future. But either way, I'm here to contextualize some of the things and maybe explain some of what was going through my head through some of the more random things that are said and done in these videos. And without further ado, let's get watching. Just a caveat up front that you might... maybe some bad language in these videos. There was a lot swearier back then. I was a student, so do be aware that if you are offended by strong language, there might be some coming up. Okay, here goes.
You know something? I'm just gonna go out and say it. I fucking love Goldfinger.
Yep, what did I say? Can't say I didn't warn you. Positive start, though, to the video, I think.
It is the perfect Bond film.
Ooh.
It has everything you could possibly want from a Bond film. All the ingredients blend together and make a perfect thing. I cannot express how much I fucking love Goldfinger.
This is the start of the video?
Oh. And now that I've declared my love and adoration of this beautiful film, let's have a look at it, shall we?
It's probably worth pointing out here that this is the final Sean Connery gun barrel sequence to not actually feature Sean Connery, rather stuntman Bob Simmons, as this is the same gun barrel sequence that was used in both Dr. No and From Russia With Love. They naturally just repeated its usage here. But when the aspect ratio changed in the next Bond film, Thunderball, they had to shoot a different gun barrel sequence, and this time they actually used Sean Connery. We then get a pre-credit sequence, which has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the film, of James Bond infiltrating a Mexican drug lord's den and blowing it up. Bond makes an attempt at some fornicating with one of his girlfriends, before they are rudely interrupted.
That's our dashing hero using a woman as a human shield, but she's evil, so who cares? The idea of having a pre-credit sequence which has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the film would become something of a trademark in the Bond films. I personally love it. It's a great excuse to get a bit of action, bit of humour and a few thrills in before the film proper begins.
Shocking.
Positively shocking.
Positively shocking.
This is also the first film in the series directed by Guy Hamilton, who takes over from the previous two films which were directed by Terence Young.
After the time,
I could hear some like whirring there on that clip. I have a feeling that was when I recorded those videos. It was on like a camcorder that used mini discs, so it recorded on mini discs rather than a memory card or tape. Do you remember when mini discs were supposed to be the next big thing? Anyway, I think that's what you could hear there because the camera was recording the sound, and I guess the disc was having trouble moving. Anyway.
Titles. The main story begins in Florida, with Felix Leiter delivering to Bond a message from M.
Might have known M wouldn't book me into the best hotel in Miami Beach out of pure gratitude.
He asked us to keep an eye on him for you.
Or a Goldfinger. Sounds like a French nail varnish.
He's British, but he doesn't sound like it.
Oh great, Felix is even more boring than he was in Dr. No.
Ooh.
Where do I find him?
Morning, Mr. Simmons. Ready for a little game?
Sure, I'm ready. When you're 10 grand in the hole, you're ready for anything.
Could I have my usual seat?
You and your suntan.
We're meant to believe that he's English. Christ, he's more German than Schnitzel.
Bond gets into Goldfinger's suite and finds Jill Masterson, who Goldfinger's paying to help him cheat at cards. After Bond foils Goldfinger, the two head back to Bond's suite for some fornicating, before Bond realises the champagne has lost its chill.
Word of the day, people. Fornicating.
Who needs it?
My dear girl, there are some things that just aren't done. Such as drinking Dom Perignon 53 above a temperature of 38 degrees Fahrenheit. That's as bad as listening to the Beatles without earmuffs.
Did James Bond just rip into the Beatles?
No, where is this?
I had another whirring again there.
That's for making fun of my favourite band. Bond awakens to see Jill dead in one of the series' most iconic images.
Very true.
Back in London, Bond learns that his true mission is to find out how Goldfinger is smuggling gold internationally.
Bond seems pretty pissed off by Masterson's death, which is appropriate as he was the one to get her killed.
This isn't a personal vendetta, 007. It's an assignment like any other.
And here we get the first fully fledged Q branch scene, and it's brilliant.
Morning, Q.
Morning, 007.
Desmond Llewellyn is great, even if he does come off as a bit wooden. Fortunately, you'd get the hang of it a bit later on.
You'll be using this Aston Martin DB5 with modifications.
The DB5, without a doubt, is James Bond's ultimate vehicle. I love how when Pierce Brosnan takes over, we see him still driving the DB5 as his own personal car.
You see the gear lever here? Now, if you take the top off, you'll find a little red button.
Very clip-heavy review, this.
Whatever you do, don't touch it.
No, why not?
Because
Probably
you
just
release...
because I have nothing but positive things to say about the film, so I'm just padding the time with clips.
Ejector seat? You're joking.
I never joke about my work, 007.
I love how a lot of the actual gadgets were really built into the car, like the oil slick and the ejector seat.
Bond arranges to meet Goldfinger socially via a game of golf, in which Bond ups the stakes by betting a large block of gold.
I do love this moment in the film where the ball, the gold's so heavy that the ball misses the hole.
We're also introduced to the familiar
That is
silhouette
really
from
good.
earlier, Goldfinger's manservant, Oddjob.
Oh, you must excuse Oddjob, Mr. Bond. He's an admirable manservant, but mute.
Bond wins the match after discovering Goldfinger was cheating, who then proceeds to threaten Bond.
Many people have tried to involve themselves in my affairs, unsuccessfully.
Again, this is just like third of the way through, and I feel like most of it has just been taken up by clips.
Bond follows Goldfinger to Switzerland,
Yep,
where he
nothing-
comes across Tilly, a mysterious woman who also seems to be on Goldfinger's tail. So Bond uses his gadgets to make contact with her.
Look at them.
A double blowout. I've never seen one of these before.
How could new tires?
Yeah, they mention the double blowout, but they don't mention the fucking huge jagged rip along the side of the car. Surely that'd be the first thing to grab your attention.
Later, Bond sneaks into Goldfinger's plant and overhears him talking to Mr. Ling, a red Chinese agent, about Operation Grand Slam. Bond then runs into Tilly, who is revealed to be Jill Masterson's sister, and is out for revenge. An alarm is triggered and the pair flee.
Bond's first ever gadget-laden car chase is pretty exciting, even if it does feel a bit wacky racist at times.
Wacky races.
And now, here they are, the most daredevil group of daffy drivers to ever whirl their wheels in the wacky races.
I'd forgotten about
Competing
this.
for the title of the world's wackiest racer. The cars are approaching the starting line. First is the Turbo Terrific, driven by Peter Perfect.
Oh, it's just the sequence with this over.
For position is the Army Surplus Special. Right behind is the Anthill Mob in their bulletproof bomb. And there's ingenious inventor, Pat Pending, in his converter car. Oh, and here's the lovely Penelope Pitstop, the glamour gal of the...
See, I could potentially have tried editing this so that, you know, when it says Penelope Pitstop, you see Tilly Masterson and, you know, but I guess I just wasn't that interested in
Sneaking along last is that mean machine with those double...
putting in the editing hours back in the day. Because this is just a montage of the car chase to the
I know
wacky
it's not
races
popular
theme.
thing to say that you enjoy overt humour in Bond films, such as old ladies with machine guns, but I love it.
Bond and Tilly attempt an escape, but Oddjob kills her with his steel-rimmed top hat.
I think you can tell that I'm struggling at this time to sort of articulate if I'm very positive about something in general. It's like this video is just a lot of explaining the plot and watching clips from the film.
To say that was the hat that decapitated a stone statue, Tilly Masterson must have a pretty solid neck.
And a lot of northern accent. Stern.
You can't see any blood on her.
Bond attempts another escape, but is captured. What then follows is another of the series' most iconic moments.
Wasn't expecting
Bond
that.
is strapped to a table while an industrial laser begins to cut the table in half, prompting the classic Bond moment.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Bond bluffs his way out of this by letting slip to Goldfinger that MI6 knows all about Operation Grand Slam, prompting Goldfinger to keep him alive.
Oh. I thought the video had just packed in then. But no, it's just another clip. I have like 6 minutes left to go on this video and got a lot of film to go through. I suppose Goldfinger doesn't have that much in the way of plot.
Who are you?
Compared with a lot of other Bond films.
My name is Pussy Galore.
Bond is transported to Goldfinger's stud farm near Fort Knox in Kentucky by this film's lesbian Bond girl, Pussy Galore.
You can turn off the charm. I'm immune.
Bond escapes his
Implies
cell
that there
and
were
overhears
other lesbian
Goldfinger's
Bond
meeting with
girls,
US
but-
mafiosi who have brought the materials he needs for Operation Grand Slam. At the end of the briefing, one of the mafiosi, Mr. Solo, asks Goldfinger to pay him immediately rather than wait a few days for the larger return from Operation Grand Slam, as Goldfinger has just outlined. Goldfinger accepts and leads him out of the conference room. The rest of the mafia are then killed by poisonous gas, while Solo is killed by Oddjob en route to the airport.
So Goldfinger gets all of the mobsters together to explain his plan to them, then kill them, but he kills Mr. Solo separately because Mr. Solo didn't want to get in on the deal that he was never going to make anyway because he was going to kill them all anyway. What's the point of that?
Bond is recaptured soon after, but here's the final details of Operation Grand Slam over drinks with Goldfinger. Goldfinger intends to irradiate the US gold supply at Fort Knox with an atomic device which was provided by Mr. Ling. The device will render the US gold supply useless for 58 years, which will greatly increase the value of Goldfinger's own gold. This will also give the Chinese a world advantage resulting from economic chaos in the West.
Brilliant.
Pussy Galore fits into this plan also, as her flying circus are ordered to spray the poison gas over the US troops that are stationed at Fort Knox. However, of course, she naturally succumbs to James Bond's charms.
Just gone through a huge chunk of the film there without her. I suppose it's just the car getting crushed and all that, isn't it?
That's it, Bond. Turn that lesbian. Kiss the girl until she likes it.
Oh, God.
Operation Grand Slam begins with Pussy's flying circus. Yes, I'm aware of how ridiculous that sounds, spraying the gas over the troops at Fort Knox. With the army neutralised, Goldfinger makes his way into Fort Knox, handcuffing Bond to the atomic device that is set to go off shortly. However, it turns out there was no harmful gas in the canisters at all, as Pussy had changed the canisters before they were sprayed, and called Washington to alert the army.
Quite why the army decided to wait until Goldfinger is actually in Fort Knox before doing something about it is questionable, but without that logic we wouldn't have had a great end sequence.
Goldfinger prepared for such an event, however, and, disguised in a US Army uniform, locks the vault, trapping Bond, Oddjob, and another henchman, Kish. Goldfinger then kills Mr. Ling with his gold-plated revolver, nice touch, along with some US soldiers, before making his escape in Pussy's helicopter. Kish intends to defuse the bomb, but the fiercely loyal Oddjob throws him off the balcony, killing him.
Now that's loyalty money can't buy.
Bond manages to unhandcuff himself with the keys from Kish, and is then involved in an electrifying fight with Oddjob. Pun intended there. The American troops get into Fort Knox and defuse the bomb with 007 seconds remaining. Does anyone else smell cheese at this point?
What kept you?
And with the bomb defused, the day is saved and all is well. Or is it?
With the gold supply safe, Bond is invited to the White House to meet the President. However, Goldfinger is on board after forcing Pussy to hijack the plane and fly to Cuba. There is a struggle. Goldfinger fires his revolver, which hits the window, causing the cabin pressure to decompress. Goldfinger is sucked out of the plane and Bond and Pussy parachute from it just before it explodes. And so the film ends with Bond and Pussy engaging in some fornication under the parachute.
Word of the day again.
Time to be rescued.
Okay. Well, looks like there's just like 1 minute 40 left of this video, so it's going to be a very quick wrap-up, I have a feeling. And I have a feeling it's going to be non-stop positivity.
He's gunning for trouble. 007. It spells Bond.
Goldfinger is the ultimate Bond film, no question. It's well and truly the template for all the Bond films to come. Everything in Goldfinger works and works so well. The supporting casts are all terrific, without really any weak link. Honor Blackman as Pussy Galore is amazing. Gert Frober as Goldfinger makes for a brilliant villain, and Harold Sakata as Oddjob is a perfectly menacing side villain. Most importantly, the film doesn't take itself too seriously. It's fun and exciting, it doesn't try to be po-faced. It's like it knows what it is and doesn't try to be anything else.
And I'll admit, a lot of this does seem to be down to the director, Guy Hamilton, but all I can say is he was the best thing that ever happened to the series. And most importantly, it actually feels like a polished film. Terence Young's films always feel a bit rough around the edges, whereas Goldfinger works, it's smooth and polished, it's great. Whilst I admit I do love John Barry's score in this film, and I especially love the title song sung by Shirley Bassey, the trumpets do get a bit grating from time to time. God, I love Goldfinger. Surely after this, the Bond films can only keep getting better, surely.
Ooh. Right. Well, that was an awful lot of positivity, which, to be fair, I was expecting. Goldfinger has always ranked very highly for me. I've always really loved that film, but what I wasn't expecting so much is that review, compared to some of the other ones that I've looked back on, that one felt like an awful lot of clips and recounting the plot rather than saying any thoughts, opinions, review, There were some bits throughout. I'd forgotten about the wacky racers thing. There are a few other gags in there that I'd forgotten about. You can't see any blood on her. I'd completely forgotten about. But yeah, that one was very, like I say, I think at the time you could probably tell that, again, I've talked about this before, at that time, if you were doing kind of these kind of review videos on YouTube, you were probably very influenced by the Nostalgia Critic, Doug Walker and all, people on his site, and the whole point of doing video reviews like this was to poke fun and poke holes and kind of rip to shreds, basically. It was a much more sort of negative skewing thing back then. The thing that I guess that I found when it was coming to Bond films that I genuinely love and didn't want to pick fault with, and whatever, like Goldfinger, I clearly had trouble sustaining a whole video of that, I guess, other than just saying like, oh, I love it, because back in that day, it was all about having fun, ripping something to shreds, rather than sort of exclaiming why you love something so much. But yeah, that's one where my opinion on the film has not really changed all that much over time, I guess. Like, I still love Goldfinger. I would like to revisit, because even the review videos that I've got on the channel now, they're from years ago. I would like to maybe revisit that one in particular and do a proper sort of, a more updated style, revisit that film. Let me know in the comments below, actually, if you'd like to see that, if I break from the chronology, and maybe I do a video for Goldfinger's anniversary year. Anyway, let me know in the comments section below. Also below, please do click the subscribe button, the Mrs. Bell notification button. There's links to all my various social medias if you want to follow me on there. And until next time, so long for now, Bond fans.